And hey folks, it's me again, back again with another video. Today I'm reacting to the underrated 90s sci-fi horror film, so hope you do enjoy. Like, subscribe, follow me on TikTok and Discord, and enough chit-chat. Let's begin. Let me turn it down for you.
11 underrated sci-fi horror 90s films that deserve more recognition. After the eccentricity that the 1980s brought to horror films, the 90s presented a huge shift in culture which saw a transition of not only music but all elements of pop culture, including movies. This new decade was all about the gritty realism and technological advancements brought in by cable TV and the internet. This led people to suffer withdrawal, craving the over-the-top horror of the previous decade. As a result of the shift, several sci-fi horror movies suffered and didn't get the love and appreciation they deserve. This video will bring you a bunch of such films that you must watch and embrace wholeheartedly despite them being creations of the 90s.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Police.
Split Second, 1992. In 2008, after most of the world's polarized caps have melted due to global warming, the world suffers from terrible floods all over. Unfortunately, London has been hit the hardest. Now submerged in several feet of water,
London 2008.
within this chaos, there lies a new killer who is unnatural, unrelenting, and unstoppable. Police officer Harley Stone vows to bring down the serial killer after he killed his partner.
I can hear your heartbeat. I'll find you.
With his new partner, Stone must find his girlfriend, who the killer has also kidnapped. However, when the two finally locate him, they are unprepared for what they see. Split Second, directed by Tony Maylam and Ian Sharp, has all the makings of a cult favorite. It is a brisk-paced action sci-fi buddy cop film with elements of tech noir.
Good film.
Not to mention that Rutger Hauer plays protagonist Harley Stone.
Rutger Hauer, highly recommended.
Despite the film's shoestring budget, Maylam and Sharp concocted a picture
Godspeed,
with a set of
Rutger
memorable
Hauer.
characters, multiple
Godspeed.
thrilling action sequences, and edge-of-your-seat suspense. Moreover, the film did not forgo any production value, filming in the most diverse locations, ranging from London necropolis to sewers infested with rats. The perfect setting for a cop and an extraordinary
Sounds like they had a rat problem.
showdown. Interestingly, the film's initial script by Gary Scott Thompson was titled Pentagram and involved a serial killer, though not quite the type showed in the final film. The script had a more ritualistic cult vibe rather than sci-fi. However, Challenge Films came in and commissioned Maylam and Sharp to direct, keeping Thompson for rewrites. This was when the film's winning buddy cop concept was added.
It was the buddy cop genre, and it was the 90s. The no fun allowed 90s.
Dark Angel, 1990. Jack Kane is a renegade Houston vice cop who is determined to stop the largest drug trade in history and bring down supplier Victor Manning. When things go sideways for him and his partner, he's appointed to work with FBI agent Lawrence Smith, and the two begin following
Dolph Lundgren is Dolph Lundgren.
Soon
If
they
it has
discover
Dolph
that they
Lundgren
may
in
be
it, don't
dealing with
think.
something
Just
far
buy
above
it.
their pay grade. Craig R. Baxley's Dark Angel, also known as I Come in Peace, is every sci-fi action lover's dream
I
come
come in
true,
pieces.
particularly for fans of Dolph Lundgren. This is a movie where he absolutely shines with his bright solo work. Until this point, he had only been seen in serious and stern action.
Showdown
films.
in Little
This is a
Tokyo, you can't go
refreshing,
wrong with
elusive,
that.
yet enjoyable change. Although it is surprisingly low-key for an action flick, you can't help but appreciate the sci-fi elements which sneak up on you. At first, the cop and the FBI agent appear to be at loggerheads, but it is later revealed just how imperative they are for each other's character development. What most viewers find to be the difference between this and usual 80s and 90s B flicks is that there are no signs of pretentiousness in the execution.
Surprising.
Right here, you mechanical bitch.
Yep, she dead.
Clap.
The myths are real. I have an ancient rivalry.
Next. Just an ad, people.
Class of 1999. 1990. American high schools begin witnessing an abundance of organized crime in the late 1990s. Several high schools start shutting down due to youth gangs taking over certain areas. Fire-free zones prevent cops from entering out of fear. Kennedy High School is
No
situated
police
in such a
protection.
place. Dr. Miles Langford,
Well, if that's a
Kennedy's new
coincidence.
principal, is determined to bring back the order and discipline to the school. To do this, he participates in a government initiative where he allows 3 military cyborgs to enter the school premises as undercover teachers.
Cyborgs.
This gives Cody Culp, a former gang member who just got out of prison, the perfect opportunity for a fresh start. Unfortunately, the new cybernetic instructors come with a new set of rules and a zero-tolerance policy for breaking them.
I operate from a model of zero tolerance.
Soon, the equation flips 180 degrees as the students begin fearing the teachers, unlike in the 1980s where it was the other way around. Director Mark L. Lester claimed while making this movie that it would portray the future of public education. It's a trashy teen equivalent of futuristic sci-fi films such as Blade Runner, RoboCop, and The Road Warrior. It's a simple movie with a handful of laughs and thrills at the expense of the American school system. However, with recent school shootings in the 21st century, the movie seems even more relevant
Well, if
today
that's a
than it did
coincidence.
back when it was created. Unfortunately, critics believe that the concept is just too far-fetched, and even though films should be watched for pure entertainment and not for its realistic ideas, several viewers claim that they can't connect with it. Nevertheless, it's filled with a few hilariously unsettling moments and intriguing special effects where viewers get an insight into the film's mechanical aspects. Most importantly, this was a film made during the pre-CGI VFX
Post-CGI.
era, a time viewed with a great deal of nostalgia by audience who remember films from the 80s. Class of 1999 is one of the few movies that goes against its premise to make sure viewers are well entertained no matter what. It has an exceptional set design considering its budget, and its sense of urban decay in a ruined world feels highly realistic, more so today than ever. Roger Corman's Frankenstein Unbound, 1990. After Dr. Buchanan and his crew create the ultimate weapon in 2031, he strives to create something even more impressive, to end the atrocities of war whilst preserving the environment. When he finally finishes it and is about to test the prototype,
Later, it goes
unforeseen
back
side
to bite
effects
you in the
begin to
butt.
occur, whereby global weather patterns go haywire and certain people begin disappearing as a result of problems in the space-time continuum. Furthermore, Dr. Buchanan realizes while driving that he's been transported to Switzerland in 1817. Here,
Wow.
he finds the famous Dr. Victor Frankenstein and explores the world from which this
Frankenstein.
famous doctor's story emerged. Roger Corman's Frankenstein Unbound is a pure blend of sci-fi and horror accompanied by loads of gore.
Stop that.
When one thinks of Frankenstein, it's automatically assumed that there will be a fair bit of gore and violence on screen. Viewers were intrigued by this film since it marked more than 2 decades since the legendary Roger Corman had released a movie on the big screen, marking his comeback. Although his series of films inspired by Edgar Allan Poe were big hits in the 50s and 60s, Frankenstein Unbound created a lot more hype since it carried a more serious tone and was made on a much larger budget. Viewers should have no doubt about Corman's excellent visual flair, which can be identified very quickly in the movie. The dialogue and characterization are on point, greatly affecting the audience's hearts and minds. Overall, the film is witty and, of course, breathtakingly shot. showing off cinematography of local Italian surroundings in Bellagio
Boppity
and Milan.
boopy.
Return of the Living Dead 3, 1993.
Wow.
Colonel Reynolds is working on a project with a group of government scientists to reanimate the dead for military purposes. Unbeknownst to him, his son Kurt, along with his girlfriend Julie, steal his key card in order to enter the military base and explore it. When Colonel Reynolds finds
Bad
out, he
idea.
gets into a massive argument with his son, leading to Kurt and Julie leaving the place on a motorcycle. On their way out, they have an accident and Julie is killed.
They would rebuild her better, faster,
Devastated
stronger.
by the incident, Kurt takes Julie to the lab where he manages to bring her back to life. He must now teach Julie to adapt to her new life as a military agent, whilst local gang members hunt the couple.
So the
Ryan
Living Dead
Usna's
meets
Return of the
Bionic
Living Dead 3
woman
incorporates
that-
a lot of elements of horror, each one in the most extreme form you can think of. The movie is filled with gore, lust, and enormous outbursts of emotions. The first movie in this franchise created such an uproar in the cinematic world that audiences didn't have many expectations for the sequels. However, Usna disproved the notion that sequels are worse than the original with this entry. Although it's a low-budget B flick, it provides the same thrill as the first movie, largely by maintaining the mythology. It doesn't present any plot holes, featuring instead a smooth and easily digestible narrative. Though Usna adds a little extra something to it.
Note this,
Perfectly
I've always
blending
wear
zombie comedy and
safety
sweet
helmets
romance.
when
The
you're
movie
riding
has
motorcycles.
incredible makeup effects, showing Julie undergoing a horrifying yet gorgeous transformation. Return of the Living Dead 3 is a unique movie, with an inventive storyline and Usna's brilliant spin on classic themes. Kronos, 1993. During the 16th century in Mexico, an alchemist built a mysterious device called kronos, which has the ability to make its owner immortal. In the 20th century, Jesus Gris is an antiques dealer who discovers Kronos while he's cleaning a statue. He accidentally triggers the device and is pierced by it and injected by an unknown liquid.
Infected with vampirism.
Soon, he notices his skin clearing up, his health improving, and his sexual appetite increasing. Meanwhile, the Kronos is being hunted by Dieter de la Guardia, a dying businessman. He sends his nephew, Angel, to buy the antique from Jesus' shop. However, Jesus is kidnapped by Angel, and
Oh,
later,
Ron
Angel
Perlman's
tries
in
to
there.
murder him by throwing his body off a cliff. After Jesus survives the fall, he and his granddaughter Aurora take the Kronos to De La Guardia, where he learns the truth about the device. Kronos is a classic horror film written and directed by the famous Guillermo del Toro. It is a perfect mixture of a colorful magic realism, sadness, and fatalism. Viewers will notice that most of what makes this sci-fi movie incredible isn't its plot, but rather the characters. One of the foremost themes in this movie, much like in other movies concerning immortality, is the idea that people who might be considered unworthy end up in possession. The film features an unsurprising sense of humor, which is generated by the tension. It presents a tasteful dichotomy between the religious belief of a hell and the sci-fi notion that technology could prevent one from ending up there. The imagery that Del Toro
All
incorporates
hell's
in the movie
real.
is breathtaking and only adds to the moral dilemma that the audience is presented with. The Fire in the Sky, 1993. On November 5th, 1975, a group of loggers notice a bright red light in the White Mountains of Arizona. When Travis goes further to explore it, a bright energy beam suddenly pushes him to the ground.
Sorry about that, folks.
On seeing this, his co-workers immediately flee the scene and inform the police that a UFO has abducted him. As Travis is missing for the next few days, the police suspect that his logger co-workers have murdered him. However, when they finally find Travis, he does not remember where he was or what he had been doing for the last few days. Until, that is, he has a mental breakdown and finally recalls the eventful days.
That fateful day.
Fire in the Sky, directed by Robert Lieberman, is a dramatized rendition of the outlandish events of Travis Walton's life, based on his nonfiction work, The Walton Experience. Even without comprehension of just how realistic and terrifying the movie's events are, viewers will be hooked right from the start. The film uses melodramatic elements to reiterate how absurd the whole concept would look to someone from the outside, yet how realistically Travis is able to recall it. There are a vast array of professional special effects that will blow the audience away, and the climax is as horrifying now as it was when the movie was first released. The method of narration that Lieberman chooses is fascinating. Instead of choosing the mainstream route of a flashback story, he makes the events a traumatic memory, where viewers are shocked for Travis when he recalls what he's been through. Overall, despite the exciting and outlandish occurrences seen throughout the film, Lieberman tried to keep the tone as matter-of-fact as possible, creating a contrast that intrigued viewers even more.
Jesus Christ.
The Dark Half, 1993. During Thad Beaumont's childhood, he underwent surgery to remove a tumor. This surgery led to the unexpected discovery that he had an underdeveloped twin brother.
Once it was a twin. Now it's nothing. A twin. Unborn.
Several years later, when Thad becomes a well-renowned actor, he publishes his works under the pseudonym George Stark. When someone discovers his secret, Thad decides to retire the name Stark, though somehow he becomes a physical entity who then begins terrorizing Thad and his family. Even worse, he begins murdering people, making Thad the prime suspect. George Romero's The Dark Half is an adaptation of a fantastic work by revered author Stephen King. Romero himself executes this thriller with utmost finesse and skill, allowing the audience enjoy every minute. There are some moments when viewers are left questioning the true nature of George Stark. Is he a figment of Thad's imagination? Or is he actually his unborn evil twin who has somehow materialized? Either way, the movie adds excellent sci-fi elements to this carefully executed slasher, creating a film that indicates extreme psychological fear and a sense of thrill. In this movie, Romero stays true to the prevalent themes of King's novel, showcasing them with just the right amount of creeping unease. Stark's character is imbued with relatable qualities such as cynicism and humor, but of course is not without a little bit of darkness.
What's going on? Murder.
Finally, Timothy Hutton, who plays both roles, delivers a remarkably impressive performance that makes this movie well worth watching. Cube, 1997. 6 random people who don't know each other suddenly wake to find that they are all trapped inside a giant cube. This cube contains several rooms. Each one of these people possesses a special skill that might help them team up to escape the room. The group consists of a math genius, a doctor, an architect, a cop, a disabled person, and an escapist. Each one of them must establish why they've been imprisoned in this mysterious location. Vincenzo Natali's Cube takes viewers on a roller coaster ride, combining certain philosophical elements with science fiction tropes and psychological dread. One of the film's most inherently thrilling aspects is each of the characters' arcs, and the multidimensional traits that Natali has incorporated within them. As the prisoners try to come to terms with their surroundings, the tensions only increase, and is enhanced further by the diversity of the professions of those trapped. As information is revealed, intrigue builds.
You don't want the boat.
The movie runs on prison break themes, and whilst dependent on genre, it also remembers to prioritize the relationship between the various characters. The movie's traps are not just scary, but also highly unpredictable and somewhat satisfying. Overall, this Canadian sci-fi film captures the best and worst qualities of each of the characters, with a mood highly reminiscent of The Twilight Zone. Dark City, 1998. John Murdoch wakes up alone in a mysterious hotel. He realizes that he has lost his memory and is wanted for committing several brutal murders. While he's trying to recall his past, he suddenly discovers an outlandish underworld controlled by creatures who call themselves the Strangers. These strangers have the power to put people to sleep, as well as alter the city's residents and the city itself.
Sleep now.
Murdoch must find a way to escape from the Strangers and stop them before they take over his mind, leading to his destruction. Alex Proya's Dark City contains elements of neo-noir set against the backdrop of a dystopian science fiction world. It's a film that has emerged from some of the most imaginative minds, presenting its viewers with amazing art direction, set designs, cinematography, and of course, special effects. It resembles Blade Runner in its imagination of a futuristic city. But unlike Blade Runner, Dark City ventures into uncharted territory, leaving even the protagonist in the dark. The audience are transported into a metropolis that exists in an alternate dimension, one where the present combines with the past. Moreover, the film presents futuristic visions with pleasing comic book style imagery. The story unravels in a familiar way, though aspects of the plot are delivered with enough originality to overlook the cliches. The writer's use of dream logic is particularly interesting, displaying how the protagonist struggles to navigate through the mystery of his own life. Screamers, 1995. Planet Sirius 6b, which was home to one of the biggest
planet
mining
that's
hubs,
serious.
is now, unfortunately, a toxic wasteland. This deterioration occurred because of a decade-long war between a mining company, New Economic Bloc, and a group of former miners and scientists who called themselves the Alliance. When the miners discovered that the ore being extracted contained toxic waste, they decided to go on strike. This didn't please the company, so they hired mercenaries to attack members of the Alliance. A few years later, the remaining former miners create autonomous mobile swords, devices containing artificial intelligence with the ability to self-replicate, also known as screamers. These creatures were designed for hunting and killing all members of the mining company. Colonel Hendrickson, who has been yearning for peace for years, discovers that neither side is interested in coming to peaceful terms with the other, so he decides to venture out by himself, risking his life amongst the screamers to negotiate terms of peace with the New Economic Bloc.
Now you better find a reason for being here. We're invited here. Got a request for a peace negotiation.
Screamers, directed by Christian Duguay, contains the optimal level of imagination and intelligence viewers hope to see in a 90s sci-fi film. The grim setting combines with certain elements to exude an ambiance reminiscent from movies like Alien. Based on the short story called Second Variety by Philip K. Dick, Screamers sees a lot of sharp-toothed creatures jumping out of nowhere against a backdrop of a wasteland with rusted pipes and toxic waste all around. Viewers can see the nod to Blade Runner with these elements, and with the inherent ambiguity contained within the film, leaving them with a thrilling sense of mystery since they are unable to anticipate what will happen next. Beside the movie's apparent political tone, there are many thought-provoking moments where the audience finds themselves considering which side is really in the right.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us. If you haven't,
And follow me on Amino and TikTok and Discord, and God bless you for it. And I'll see you next video.